is the Atari 8-bit podcast.
This is an interview episode of Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. I'm Kevin Savitz. Chuck Mullally published one game through Atari Program Exchange, Mastermatch, a game similar to the Mastermind board game. Mastermatch was one of the last APX programs to be released. It was first available in the winter 1983-1984 APX catalog, the final APX catalog. Chuck told me that the game won a $1,000 prize from APX, but the catalog, a sparse 8 pages and much smaller than the previous APX catalogs, doesn't even mention that. I'm going to read its entry in the catalog for you. Mastermatch by C. Mullally, recommended for ages 8 and up, written in BASIC. Solve the colorful puzzles of Mastermatch using only logic and concentration, and an occasional clue. The goal is to guess a sequence of colors selected by either Mastermatch or another player. Use your joystick to change colors along a row in the left-hand grid. If any of your guesses are right, a tantalizing hint appears. When your guesses run out, or when you solve the puzzle, Mastermatch displays the correct answer. 7 levels of difficulty, and the live opponent option will keep you guessing. Review comments. Being able to choose the level of difficulty makes Mastermatch fun for all ages. You can also create your own game board. Note, you can only play Mastermatch if you have a color TV set. Requires Atari Basic Language cartridge, 1 Atari joystick controller per player. GTIA chip, 1982 or newer computer has one. Order information. It was available on cassette, which required 24K of RAM, for $24.95, APX catalog number 10259, or diskette, which required 32K of RAM, also $24.95, APX catalog number 20259. This interview took place on January 31st, 2016. Set me up for the story of creating this game.
Okay, well, when I first bought the computer, the Atari was my first computer that I purchased. I had a little bit of access to IBM computers at work, but I decided I'd give this a try. I kind of used it as a tool to help our 2 young girls at that time have a computer access. My wife always claimed that that was an excuse to get the computer. But I really got more interested in it after I got the computer and started experimenting a little bit. And
was it an excuse, John? It's been a few years. You can come clean now if it was. Was she right?
No, I think I was interested in it myself, but I thought, well, at that time, as you well know, the computers were not inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And between buying a computer and a monitor, it was, well over $1,000.
Yeah.
And the decision to go ahead with that was influenced by having 2 school-age daughters at that time that would be, and had actually started a little bit of computer access at school.
Okay.
So no, it was it really, the 2 things just kind of fell together, and I sat down and experimented a little bit with some ideas and did some very, very simple tasks on the computer and acquired some software and experimented. But I got interested in using BASIC. I wrote some very, very simple little basic routines. And so, well, it makes sense, and so I'll give that a try. And I really kind of tied it in with the fact the computer had fairly good graphics for its time, a lot of bright colors to play with, and I thought, well, it's going to be a natural to see if I could set up a computer simulation of a board game, Mastermatch. Well, that's what I called it. Mastermind was the game that you would purchase, a board game, and it was available in various different configurations, from quite easy to a little more sophisticated, depending what kind of audience the purchaser of the board game wanted. Well, I thought I could certainly do more than have 2 or 3 different versions. I could make it so it would be able to be flexible enough to go from very easy to very complex requirements. And so I started experimenting and wrote routines and pieced them together and rewrote and cleaned up and faced the challenges like everyone did back in those days to try to get the program just as streamlined as possible to fit into the memory constraints that we had with those little computers. So worked at it and came up with a interesting set of parameters. And I guess like everybody who works on a computer programming, I get 95% done very quickly, and the last 5% takes about 90% of the time to make it work nice and get all the bugs out. So eventually I got it working. I was at that time involved with an Atari user group, a local group of mostly fellows that were, middle-aged, young middle-aged at that time.
Well, you say local group. You were based where? Michigan?
In Michigan, Muskegon, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And our group had a couple of hotshot programmers and a bunch of us fellows that were just interested in it and liked to see what was happening and what was going on. And so with a little bit of help or cooperation from some of the other Atari group users, I was able to smooth out the program a little bit and come up with a better interface to make it something that would be easy to step into and operate. And I got it working rather well, actually. It was in BASIC. That was really the only language that I knew, and it ran slowly, and it was perfectly adequate for a person sitting there and trying to solve the program. Program is a color matching, color and pattern matching. We match colors on a spaces across, and you then ask the computer to give you a score as to how many colors and positions you've gotten right, and it gives you a score. And I was using black and white symbols, kind of simulating the Mastermind game, which used colored pegs and black and white signals for pegs for signaling how close you were coming to the hidden pattern. Mm-hmm. And using an array and some variables, I was able to get the program to be very scalable, from anywhere from 3 pegs across to 12 or 15 pegs across, which is virtually impossible to do. And I came up with a crude but serviceable algorithm that allowed me to score each time and keep track of the scores and getting a graphical interface on the screen to let you know how much progress you're making toward matching the colors and patterns. And spent some time getting a title screens and start the user interfaces figured out. So it was actually ran quite smoothly. As I recall, I think I used a joystick for inputs for going across and up and down and changing colors, and that would score, and also would assign a relative value to how well you were doing. So it actually gave you not only matching the pattern, but allowed you to try to build the highest score as you go along. It would keep track of that for you until you shut the computer off and start it over again. The computer then, or the program then, I submitted to the Atari Program Exchange with the encouragement of some of the other fellows in the user group, and lo and behold, it was had quite a bit of interest. I got a phone call from a gal who was one of the Atari employees who evaluated the programs, and she was quite excited. Everybody liked to use it, and I ended up with I think a second place award, which unfortunately was very near the time that the Atari Program Exchange was going to fold, and I think I probably got about the only packaged version of the game was probably sent to me in the mail as a sample of what would be going on the shelf. So there were never any sales associated with it at all. Certainly no royalties of any sort. Did win a $1,000 award from Atari, which could be applied against Atari equipment, and so I checked the boxes and purchased, or was able to get a replacement computer and a few software things, and I think a disk drive. And so I was that's the only payback I got from it. But it was quite an interesting experiment for me, a first time programming. I was working full time, and so this was strictly when I had get home from work. I would find a couple hours to work on it in the evening, and it took, I think, about a month to get it running smoothly, and another couple months to get all the finishing touches done on it. So it was about a 3-month investment of my time. So
yeah, looking at the number here. Yeah, your catalog number was 259 out of 270. So yeah, you were right there at the end before they folded Atari Program Exchange.
Yeah. Yep. They sent me a copy of the latest catalog, which then was drastically downsized from their previous catalogs, and it was the final catalog, and my program is featured on the front cover. So there it is. It made me feel good. Of course, it was of no financial value to me at all, other than getting a computer just before Atari quit making them anyway, or quit selling them anyway. So it really, we got out of the 8-bit little computers like they were in there. So I ended up, I think, with I can't remember what model it was, 800 XL, I think, which was the price that I won. I thought it was quite interesting and quite an experience. Then I did develop the game a little bit further after I had submitted it to the Atari Program Exchange and integrated into it the software automatic mouth. It was called SAM. And SAM was an artificial voice, and I programmed some suitable responses to encourage or tease the person who was trying to make progress in the game, and maybe a couple of dozen of responses that it would make. So it was integrated into it, and then I did compile the basic program, and so it would run much better, much more smoothly, particularly with the voice attached to it. So it was an interesting thing and fun to do. I've maintained an interest in computing. I actually retired quite early. I've been retired for almost 20 years, I guess 18 years now. But I have kept a not programming, but website support, and I had maybe a couple of dozen active sites going at a time. I'm trying to get out of that now. I only have maybe a half a dozen websites that I still handle. But it's been an interesting time, and I guess for me, it did start with the Atari home computer.
Nice. Awesome. So what career were you doing before you retired?
Well, by education, I'm a mechanical engineer. Graduated from Michigan State University, mechanical engineering, and I worked my entire career in automotive engineering I worked for about a year for Ford Motor Company, but their engineering training program looked like I didn't know when it was ever going to end. It was supposed to be a 2-year program, but a lot of people were still in there well after the 2 years were up. I got a little bit antsy and decided to quit and went to work back in my own local hometown for an automotive engine component supplier. The company was Seal Power Corporation. And I had an extremely interesting career over the years. I started out in product engineering and then moved after a few years into new products development and patent and license management, and able to work on new programs, new products, regular ongoing basis for about 20 years, and developed a lot of new products, and started up new operations, and eventually I was a general manager of a couple of our operations. One was a foundry operation, and another was a electro-hydraulic solenoid valves for automatic transmissions. So it was an interesting career. It was technically oriented, of course, but a lot of senior management positions by the time I was done.
Nice. Is there anything else I need to know about Mastermatch?
No, it's pretty straightforward. If you've ever played the board game Mastermind, it's a computer simulation of Mastermind, much more complex as far as a number of, the amount of challenge you want to give yourself.
Right. Yeah, I like that you can play with 12 pegs across or something. It's just ridiculously impossible. It's fun.
Yeah, it's you can set it anything you want. I think I had up to 16 colors, and I think up to 12 or 14 spaces across, and something like 25 or 30 rows high. So it was as much as I could squeeze on the screen with the limited resolution that was available. But at the time, it was pretty good for its compared to its competitors. It was just fine.
Did you do any other Atari projects that you published? Or
no.
Even just for your own use?
No, just for my own use, and nothing really complete. Just fiddling around with it. And of course, after the Atari, then I've been doing some things with the IBM-based computers, but it's all been for personal use, and I managed to do my own spreadsheets for managing just about anything, but no longer any programming of any extensive amounts. It's just using developing applications with other people's software.
Thanks. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Okay. Sounds fine. I'm glad to help out, and I continue to wish you success with keeping the old Atari active from whatever perspective you can. It certainly was an interesting time for me.
If you enjoy these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.